Welcome to the Deals Finders Corner, so your weekly property talk show brought to you by Property Filter, hosted by myself, Guillaume Black, your favorite Frenchman, the CEO and co-founder at Property Filter. So it's the UK's highest rated platform to find deals. We are on a mission to empower our property investor and deal sourcer members to find 1,000 deals this year, thanks to the Property Filter blueprint. And the purpose of your Deal Finders Corner, where you are right now, is to give you more and the best of what's available in terms of inviting expert guests. Will share with you the latest and most current strategies, tactics, and secrets about what actually works right now in terms of finding and making deals, and the reality of systematizing and running a high-performance business in property. It is my pleasure, really, it is my pleasure today to introduce you my good friend Louise Jowsey on today's Deal Finders Corner. Louise is going to tell us all about finding off-market deals and the art of good letters and good copy. So Louise is the letters queen. So she's got over 25 years experience in direct marketing, gained in retail, financial services, and the media sector. She spent the last 8 years working for Royal Mail, where she worked alongside some of the UK's biggest brands, advising them on how to improve their direct mail and leaflet marketing campaigns to drive more response. So now she's a full-time property developer with a portfolio of mixed-use commercial properties, as well as being a charity trustee and a mom. Louise writes online content and letters copy for other property investors, and is here to share wisdom on the art of good content. So what you can expect from today's episode: so we're going to cover how to find off-market property deals using letters and leaflets, and how Property Filter can help you with the targeting of these, and how to make sure your letters get actually opened. Louise will go through the 7 tips to make your copy sing and convert so that vendors actually respond. And finally, she'll go through techniques to build trust and considering trust and consideration in your content for online and offline marketing. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more about Louise talk today. So please give a massive virtual welcome to Louise Jowsey.
Oh, thank you, Guillaume, and thank you to the Property Filter team for the opportunity. Good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah,
I'm Louise Jowsey. I'm the copy doctor, and as Guillaume says, I'm going to cover off-market deals and the art of good letters today. So I know that you're active users of Property Filter, and I'm hoping that I'm going to share some useful tips with you today as well that will help you when you're following up on market deals using Property Filter and using letters. So by all accounts, the fact that you're here, I'm assuming that you're fairly positive about letters, but some of you may be thinking, well, do they really work anymore? But I'm hoping that by the end of this session, you'll be as passionate about letters as I am. I also want you to think during this session about the most important letter that you've ever received. Now, that could be from the perspective of financial importance, it could be emotional, it could be a new job, it could be a deal, it could be a love letter, it could be a letter from your auntie. And hopefully we may get a chance to revisit this at the end. But the reason I say that is because I want you to consider the power of a letter in building trust and in building meaningful connections.
Louise, we don't see your camera. I don't know if you turned it off by accident.
Right, okay.
It was on just earlier.
Yeah, it's not allowing me to go back on. I don't know why it's doing that. Sorry,
okay,
guys.
No worries. Yeah, we'll do with it.
See my face.
Yeah, we saw you just earlier. No worries.
Right, okay. If we can just move on to the next slide. So, thank you, Guillaume. So what I'm going to cover is on-market versus off-market property deals in the context of letters, finding off-market property deals, how to get your letters opened, tips on building powerful copy, building trust and consideration through letters, which I think is really important in our industry, our sector, particularly since we don't always get a good reputation, deservedly or undeservedly so, in our sector. And then obviously Q&A, contact details, and a free gift for you. So moving on. So are on-market and off-market property deals really that different in the context of letters? Well, obviously with on-market, there is a motivation to sell, but there can be varying degrees of motivation, as we know. And the beauty of a tool like Property Filter is that through the overlay of insight, you're then able to spot those who are most motivated and why. And then that enables you to send them letters that are personal, relevant and timely. Obviously, the challenge with off-market deals and letters is that it can feel a bit like a needle in a haystack. And you can be thinking, well, you know, how do I reach this audience? Do they want to sell? Do they want to sell now? Do they want to sell later? And what are their wants and needs? So if we just go on to the next slide. So Tony Preedy, he's probably got more than 30 years direct marketing experience. He's a real guru, and he's not just traditional direct mail. He cut his teeth in catalogues. He understands direct mail inside out, but actually he heads up on our e-commerce business now. Now, he identified 4 key factors that influence success when you're sending direct marketing. Now, the first one is creative. Now, he attributed that contributed 10% towards. Now, you might be thinking, oh, well, why the heck am I here? I may as well just switch off now if it only generates 10%. But 10% is 10%. And I worked with really big mailers, as Guillaume said, and actually they could shift the needle on their results. And so can small mailers by making tweaks to copy, to layout. And that 10% could be the difference between you getting a response and not getting a response. It could be one response that could generate you or save you thousands of pounds. So we shouldn't dismiss the power of copy and the power of layout. The next factor was offer. Now, by offer, we don't always necessarily mean like vouchers or a cup of coffee. It can mean that, but it's your proposition. It's what can you offer? What can you offer to meet those needs? The next key influencer of success with any direct marketing campaign was timing. Timing is important. Now, the good news with off-market deals and the issue with knowing when they might be willing to let you buy is that the good thing about mail is that it has a longevity in the home and in the office. We are the same people. The way we interact with mail is no different B2B versus business to consumer. So because mail has a longevity, and in fact, I was talking to an investor this morning, he'd done a letters campaign. He'd actually used HMO landlord lists, and he'd had a response the other week from a campaign he'd sent 2 years ago. So if you produce something that's decent, then people may hold on to it and respond at a later date. Fourthly, the fourth key factor, and this is the biggest attributor, if you like, to success, is targeting. Now, targeting 40%, that has 40%, if you like, of the impact. And I think that's why, again, you've got a tool like Property Filter, which it is so strong because of the impact upon targeting and timing. But what about off-market deals? So how do we find off-market deals using letters? Right, so finding off-market property deals using letters. Well, I think sometimes there is a fallacy that off-market deals are better than on-market property deals, but the reality is they're just as good as each other as long as they both stack. And I think sometimes as well, there's a view that we can come away with from some of the training programs that they're easy to find. Whereas the reality is that off-market property deals, there's not necessarily a silver bullet. in finding them, in sourcing them. And you have to use good old-fashioned marketing techniques to build the lists. Obviously, it starts with your commercial objectives. Who are you sourcing for? What are you sourcing? Where are you after? People who own 2 up, 2 downs in Barrow and Furness? Or are you after shops and uppers? Are you after land in London? You need to be as specific as possible. I met a deal sourcer the other week, and he was telling me that he's pretty much sourcing anything and everything. Well, that's okay, but it makes it quite hard to target from a marketing perspective if there's that lack of clarity. The other thing is that you need to do next is you need to analyse your market. So what off-market and on-market deal successes have you had? Are they replicable? Can you find lookalikes? So, for example, when I was buying shops and uppers a few years back, when me and my business partner were finding them, we found that commercial agents were really effective stakeholders at bringing us off-market deals. So sometimes you need to think laterally about off-market property deals and letters, and you may be mailing the vendor, but you may actually be mailing key stakeholders in your supply chain who hold information and who may have influence. So I was chatting to someone else yesterday, and they were telling me that their friend sources land in London and he's using an estate agent, and that estate agent, he's paying a fee, he cuts him in. So whilst the estate agent may not make as much money, he's actually not doing any, nearly as much work in return. So it's a win-win. So in analysing your market, you need to be analysing your deal pipeline. You might have deals that perhaps were on market, never sold, they're now off market. And also when you're analysing your market, you need to be thinking about what your vendors' wants and needs are, so that you can diagnose their pain through letters. And I'll come on to that in a bit more detail. In terms of the next stage, so the next stage is obviously creating your mailing lists, and these come from multiple sources. There is no mailing list out there, certainly not that I'm aware of, that has got like motivated sellers on who've not yet gone to market. You're looking for different levers and different lists depending upon your target market, whether you're targeting businesses that are maybe struggling and are facing liquidity issues or have got poor credit ratings in a known property, or whether you are targeting people who own 3-bed semis in Reddish. So these lists are going to be built from multiple sources. They're going to come from local knowledge. It might be dilapidated houses in your patch. A developer was telling me the other day that he just bought a property in my town that I've been looking at for years, done nothing about. I could have gone on the land registry. I could have gone after that property. He's got it off market. He's developing it right in front of my eyes. And he doesn't live in my town. He's a great guy, so it doesn't matter. But the bottom line is these off-market deals are coming from multiple sources. Your network, your formal network, your informal network, your power team. Have you written to your power team? I was thinking about this today myself, that we work with a particular solicitor. We use him lots. At no point have I gone to that solicitor and asked him to bring me deals, whereas I could have done so. You might be targeting specific professions where they can bring you deals using letters. If you're using leaflets, say you're targeting, or even you're using letters, say you're targeting households, there are a number of different socio-geo-demographic tools that you can use to target catchment areas. I know a lot about those tools, and I can help you if you're wanting to use those type of tools to target specific households, streets, and catchment areas. You've obviously got list brokers as well that you can access, and different software. You can build these lists yourself. You can rent them. I build them for you, and all can be managed through your pipeline on Property Filter, which use that pipeline for both on-market and off-market deals in one place. Be careful about using standard letter templates that are in use, because letters are quite expensive to send by their nature, and so you want to make sure that you tailor and target your copy, because if landlords, for example, are receiving exactly the same letter of lots of different people, then it kind of looks lazy from your perspective and it's not particularly targeted. Right, so on to the next slide. So can anyone put in chat and guess what they think the average opening rate is for letters? So what percentage of letters do you think, what percentage of letters do you think are opened? So Steve thinks 2%. Roy's 90. Anyone else? Right. Okay. So Roy and Michael. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So Roy, Michael, and a few others were really close. The average opening rate for letters is 85%. Most letters are opened. They have a high opening rate. That's the way it is. We're just programmed to open mail, I guess. That's what we do. So how do you ensure that your letters get opened? Well, Royal Mail doesn't publish this research because it does actually go against the ASA guidelines, but the types of envelopes that are most likely to get opened are manila or plain white. And that's probably because we worry that it's something important, like a hospital appointment, or maybe it's you know, a motoring fine. So we are much more inclined to open those. I saw somebody trying to secure land off market of high net worth individuals, and they were mailing out with private and confidential on. Again, that probably works, particularly when you're mailing high net worth, because they'll have staff in their homes and they may have people who open their mail, and it may then be more likely to end up in the hands of the person who owns the property. But yes, you will hear people talking about brightly coloured envelopes and looking like a card from Auntie, but the truth is it's manila or it's plain white. Right, so moving on to the next. Right, so in terms of powerful copy and tips for powerful copy, use headlines and subheads to grab attention and aid scan reading. So when people read a letter, they go through a glance, scan, read process. You don't think much about it because it's the subconscious part of the brain that's working. It's the pre-attentive processing in the brain. Next time you'll think about it when you pick your mail up, because I've just told you about it. But the truth is, right, that if you use headlines, headings and subheads, and you break up and you chunk up that letter and you make it clear at a glance what you're writing to them about and why, then you've more chance of attracting their attention in the first few seconds and hopefully them reading on. Because people take decisions very quickly about mail as to whether they're going to read now, read later or recycle. Next tip. Your opening gambit matters. The amount of letters that I've seen that begin, dear Miss Jowsey, I hope you don't mind me writing to you, but I got your details off an HMO landlord list. I hope you don't mind. Don't be apologetic. If you're writing a letter to someone, you're writing it because you have got something really valuable to offer them. You can help them. So don't start apologetic. And then don't begin the next sentence with, I've been in property for 27 years and I've got a £2.5 million portfolio and I've got this and I do that and it's all about me. There will be an opportunity in the letter to talk a little bit about you, but don't begin so it's all about me. You have got to the reader has got to understand like how you can help them, what's in it for them. And also you need to be talking benefits, not features. Now, you might have a really big portfolio that might enable you, because you might have a level of wealth where you can buy properties with cash, and therefore you can close sales really quick and help them in that way. But you've got to be talking benefits, not features. A lot of the great direct mailers use behavioral science techniques. Lloyds Bank use this a lot. We are really terrified of loss. We're terrified of losing money. We're terrified of, like, you know, we don't want to lose time. You know, people will plug into, and this is the diagnosis of pain. You know, what are their needs? Why? What are their needs if you know them? And diagnose their pain and make the letter feel personal and relevant. Because then, through kind of acknowledging how they might be feeling or alluding to it, then you can create marketing or copy that makes people act. Because what we do know, and this is neuroscience, and there's lots on YouTube about it, is that marketing that makes us feel something makes us act. It makes us do something. Keep your copy succinct. I've seen Dickensian copy, I've seen superfluous copy, I've seen very businessy copy. Keep it succinct for several reasons. We're all really time poor. That's the first thing. Secondly, English may not be somebody's first language, and that must be a consideration. But also that if you keep it plain and you keep it quite simple, then people will very quickly understand what you're offering. And the if your letter is rolling to 2 pages, letter fronts are read far more than letter backs. So keep your most important, your most salient messages on the front. I'll talk about evidence in a bit later, about how you use evidence to build trust and consideration. But these are all really good inclusions for a letter. Testimonials, any memberships, any accreditations you have, your website address. Use customer-centric language throughout. Your. It's not about you, i.e. me. And also it should be from someone. You know, did your auntie ever send you a letter that said, best regards, the team? No, she didn't. If I send you a letter, it is from you and it is to me. It is from me and it's to you even. And it's a one-to-one communication. And that's how you need to use letters. Be clear on your call to action. I see a number of investor letters where they it's not clear how they want people to respond, or, you know, provide a number of different ways. They may want to respond online first or via email. I was chatting to a deal sourcer the other day, and she says that that's how a lot of deals come to her first, that they gauge her online or in electronic communications and decide whether she's someone who wants to, someone that they want to do business with. You could also consider using a QR code as another way to encourage engagement. But it's really important to be clear about your call to action and to state it a number of times. Make it easy for people to contact you. Okay, on to the next slide. Thank you. Right, good letter, bad letter. So I want you to take a look at these letters, and I want you to put into chat, let me give you the task first. Which of these letters do you think works hardest to
what I can do, I can do a quick poll actually.
Yeah,
set up
okay.
a quick poll. So just bear with me just a sec. Sorry, I should have prepared this. So question, good. So what is the question? Which one is the best letter?
Yeah, so which yeah, go on. All right, we'll do that. Which do you think is the best letter?
And so we're gonna have one is A and B. Save. Sorry, just bear with me. I hope this is the right poll. There we go. That's right. So if you wanna put here, pick A or B here, and Yeah, we've got 20 responses so far. If you all want to pick your favorite letter.
Okay.
Is that a trick question, Louise?
Yeah. It'll mean more. It'll make more sense in a moment. Right.
Okay, so we've got
We've got most people.
Got 60. Just leave it 10 seconds, a bit more.
Yeah.
Here we go.
She thinks the best letter.
Right. Okay. Let's.
It's a controversial question, really.
Can you see the results?
Yes, I can. Thank you. So we're saying letter A. So let's go to the next slide. Yeah. We're saying the Optical Express letter.
60% of people say letter A, and 40% say letter B.
61%. Yeah. Yep. So if we go to so what this is showing you here is, well, first of all, you might be asking, well, why hasn't she shown us landlord letters? I haven't done deliberately because they're not in the public domain, so it wouldn't be appropriate for me to show you or to show you letters that other investors are sending out that I've reviewed. So I've showed you some of the big brands that we've worked with in the past in my role at Royal Mail. What you're also seeing is a heat map. So this is eye tracking software that I use, and I run letters through it. And what it tells you is where the eye is going to be drawn to in the first 3 to 5 seconds. And the reason this is important is because of what I told you before, that people take decisions really quickly about all kinds of marketing material, but they do about letters. This is what this is showing you is which of these letters is where the eye will be drawn to in the first 3 to 5 seconds. So it was a bit of a trick question in that neither of these letters is good or bad, in that you could only determine that really if you had the ROI for each letter. But what I can tell you is that letter A is working a lot harder in the first 3 to 5 seconds at drawing attention to the most salient messages. So you can see straight away it's drawing attention to the offer, the call to action's got a really big heat spot on it, and so have the benefits in the body copy. Now, what you can see with the letter on the right is that there's a massive block of copy and the eye is glazing over it. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is not because you necessarily have to artwork your letters. I mean, I do that for some clients, and we have an artwork studio that's very reasonable, but you don't have to do that. You can send a letter from your computer and it can look good with your branding and your accreditations on, etc. But avoid doing what letter B does on the right. Massive block of copy, not really chunked up, not broken up, and it's not broken up. And you could easily set that letter out yourself on your computer using just bold and bigger font so that the eye doesn't glaze over it. Does that make sense? Yeah, good stuff. So layout does matter. The way that we set out letters, it does matter, and you don't necessarily have to have your letters artworked either. But I think what happens is when people have a massive block of copy like that, they're just like, whoa, gosh, this is just too much. I just haven't got the time. So again, it's about walking in your customer's shoes. On to the next slide. Right, this is important because what you want to do is to build trust through all of your marketing, and you want people to realise that you are someone that is trustworthy and somebody that is easy to do business with. And there are certain things that you can do that helps build trust and consideration, because when we do this, I talked before about risk aversion. We're naturally risk averse. And when we consider risk aversion, we'll often find reasons not to do something. We'll find reasons not to do stuff. So what you're doing here by building trust and consideration is you're removing barriers to consideration. So if you've got accreditations, maybe NRLA, you've got ICO, You may have other memberships, use them. Also, what you find when you heat map, when you eye track a letter that's got those logos on, it creates hotspots. So they work really well. Testimonials and case studies, they're a really good way. You know, it might just be a quote from somebody, maybe helped solve a problem. They had a property and they just couldn't sell it, and you were just able to buy it and really save a whole massive headache. And so we can use testimonials really cleverly to illustrate that we are honest, that we are ethical, and that we are easy to do business with. Be professional in your execution. So there aren't, as investors, as developers, as deal sources, there aren't often very many tangible representations of our brand. A letter is an extension of your brand. So don't print it on toilet roll. Send it so that it's got good production values, and you can do that from your home. You don't necessarily have to use big mailing houses. But make sure that your letter is professional in its execution, including its production values. Patience. People won't necessarily reply after the first letter. Now, it might be that it's just not the right timing, but they may hold on to it, and you may need to follow them up. In fact, you will most definitely have to follow them up. So make sure that your follow-up is really strong, that you're really hot on follow-up, using Property Filter, your deal pipeline, because building meaningful relationships takes time. Whether it's your partner, it's your employer, it's your JV partner, you know, you're going to need to follow up using mail or other media. Don't be disheartened if it doesn't work straight away. Integrate your on and your offline marketing. If you send me a letter, one of the first things I'm going to do before I contact you is I'm going to look you up. I'm going to Google you. I'm going to look across your social media touch points, and I'm going to check your website if you've got one. I'm going to try and build a view as to whether you're pretty consistent, because if you look consistent, then it fills me with confidence that you're professional, that you're not necessarily hustling, and that you're professional, so you're ethical and you're going to be good to do business with. Make it easy for people to research you, either link to your social media, put your company registration number. You can also consider putting a leave behind in. Maybe particularly with off-market deals, remember, it's not always as easy to get the timing right as it is, say, with the on-market leads, the deals that you're picking up through Property Filter. So, you know, consider a leave behind. It might be a business card with your photo on. It might not, but yeah, leave behinds work really well. Follow up. I can't stress enough the importance of follow up. If you're using door drops, typically you need to be following up 6 weeks later with door drops. Again, I can provide guidance on follow up. You know, you may send some letters. You may choose not to necessarily follow up using letters. You may do, you may not, but follow up is key. However you do it, do it. I had a deal that was on market. I had my offer accepted. I got gazumped by a cash buyer, and 3 months later, that sale had not moved on. It had not moved on, because that cash buyer was buying lots of property, and that property was not a priority. And that deal came back to Tim and I through follow-up. So you've got to follow up, because that deal kind of came back to us. Yeah, it came back to us. I guess it was it a quasi off-market deal? Because who knows how you describe it. But the bottom line is, you really got to follow up. That's what separates the people who are successful at this stuff from the people who aren't. Now to the next. Thank you. So, are on-market and off-market deals really that different? The reason I wanted to return back to this point is because really it is about targeting. It is about, they're similar in that the more targeted you can be about who you're after, what you're after, the way in which you build information to try and build a picture as to either your vendor or the people that you're trying to influence, be it commercial agents, probate solicitors, estate agents, relationship managers of big banks, etc. The more targeted that you can be, the more relevant that you can be in letter communications, the more personal you can be, and the more likely they are to engage and to act on your communication. I think the other thing I forgot to add as well about follow-up before is that sometimes people feel awkward about follow-up, that, oh, I'm kind of chasing and it's already salesy. What follow-up communicates to others, as long as you're not over following up and you're not a pest, but what follow-up confirms to others is that you're a professional outfit, because you're following up, you've got a systemized approach, and that is important because that helps to build trust and consideration as well. I was chatting to another investor this morning, and they were saying that they were saying, what were they were I've gone and lost my train of thought now, but they were talking about follow-up and the power of follow-up in terms of securing deals. Right, on to the next slide. Right, I particularly love this quote about clear thinking, because if we are clear in our thinking, and if we're clear in our thinking that we've got a clear strategy, then we are clear in our writing. And if we are clear in our writing, then that means that we're much more likely to be personal and to be relevant. And we have the capacity then to build relationships using mail. Mail that makes us feel something, makes us do something. So when I think back to, so the most important letter I ever received was from my great aunt, Sybil, and she's passed now, but it was just talking about Sunday dinner and how she loved seeing me, and how much she loved me. And obviously that letter means an awful lot to me now, but I'm not saying that you're going to necessarily create letters that make people feel like I feel, where I felt when I received it off my great aunt Sybil. But a letter is an opportunity to build a meaningful relationship, an opportunity to build trust and build engagement and encourage engagement. And it's important that they're treated with the respect they deserve, I guess, because they cost money to send at the end of the day. So you want to give it your best shot. I'm Louise Jowsey. I'm from the Copy Doctor. Here we go. If you scan the QR code and connect with me on LinkedIn, I can send you more tips on writing powerful letters for free. And I can provide you with more guidance on the on-market deal categories that are the most popular ones. So, for example, it could be sold subject to contract for say more than 90 days, or properties that have been withdrawn, properties that perhaps the deal's fallen through and they're back on the market. So if you'd like those free tips and hints, then connect with me via LinkedIn, and I would be happy to help. Apologies for the technical issues. It's just typical that you go all morning working, you have none, and then you come on a session like this and I've got lagging, so I apologise, but I hope it was useful. Thank you to Guillaume and the team, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Yeah, thanks so much, Louise. Thank you, and you went really well. Don't worry. It proves that all of this is live, So,
Yeah.
And it worked out really well at the end. So I took a few notes, and thank you. It's really, really interesting. So I think one of the opening statement was the the impact of different aspects. And when you know, it was quite eye-opening for me to realize that copy and the offer is all interesting and important, but really your targeting and the timing account for 70% of the impact. And then so this struck me as, okay, we are doing things in the right direction, because we are kind of the things we offer people is with Property Filter, you can have the timing and the targeting right. So that's you know, help with the most impactful thing here, which is great. And I love what you say about don't use templates, because I honestly have received numbered letters from people who must have been on the same course, you know, and it's like it just shows how unprofessional people are. So we shared letter templates in the Facebook group earlier, and you know, I always recommend people to make it their own, but you know, like it's really important, you know. So don't don't be lazy, you know. So I quite liked that. And the surprising contrarian truth about the Manila and plain white letters. So this is going against what we all learned in some courses at some point. So and I agree with you. Like when I receive a colored envelope letter, I know what it is, and I'm not interested. And then I receive this. I'm almost worried when I receive these corporate letters. Oh, you know, what is it this time? You know, is it another parking fine or something? You know, so oh, thank God, it's a landlord letter. You know, so I agree with you. Actually, I didn't realize, but and it's what you said later about what you make people feel. So from this, you know, there's a saying that says nothing good comes out of a gray envelope, you know, and actually when it's, oh, okay, it's not that bad, you feel relieved. I felt relief opening some landlord letters because they were very corporate-y. And so you said about making people feel something, and then they'll act on that feeling. So I think that was really cool and interesting. And what you said about that, I think again, it goes back to the targeting and diagnosing the pain of where people are right now, and to make it personal and relevant. So again, going back to the targeting, so you can be absolutely I just mute someone here, but sure. You can be super targeted with and you touched on this at the end about properties that are falling through, coming back on the market, that have been sold subject to contract since a long time, or have been withdrawn. So all of these are really good leads where you know exactly what is the pain of a potential vendor. You know, this is on Property Filter, that is, and you can pull out the addresses and then have the copy that targets this pain, because you've diagnosed the pain with Property Filter, and you can make it personal and relevant. And then the follow-ups, you know, so the follow-ups, you know, people don't realize, you know, you would probably want to commit to, and this is a question actually I've got for you, commit to quite a few letters in a campaign. And sadly, most people give up because they send 1 or 2 letters and say, oh, it doesn't work. But people need to realize there is a budget. You know, you need to budget your campaign. You need to plan it out. You know, you almost have the theme of every of the 6 or X letter you will send, and have the budget for it. And most people.
Yeah, I've still got a garden. I've still got a downstairs toilet.
Just go around and muting people. Sorry. Sorry. You might need to unmute yourself, Louise, because I muted everybody. Yeah. So yeah, that was really awesome. And again, you conclude again on the targeting and making it relevant and personal, so it's more likely to open. And again, I can only plug and link to Property Filter, which is basically what this does for you. So yeah, really awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I'll scroll through the questions, and I've got 3 questions myself as I go and mind the chat, if you don't mind looking at these. The first one, so do you recommend adding more personal unbranded letters or more corporate letters? And is it mandatory to put company details in a letter? Like, is there a law or something? I had some neighbors, communication by letter where they complained for some party wall neighbor on another aspect. They say they complained that I didn't put the company details and stuff, and it was illegal. And so I was wondering what you think about that. And also, how many letters do you think someone should commit on a campaign? And I'll go up, I'll look at the question.
Okay, so you raise really, really good questions. The research shows that unbranded plain letters, plain envelopes work best. That does contravene the Advertising Standards Association guidelines that stipulate that you should really, with marketing communication, state your brand on the outer or the envelope, and it should be clear that it's a marketing communication. Notwithstanding that, you know, obviously it's not my role to sort of recommend that you what you do or don't do, but lots of brands up and down the country do and don't do it. The reality is, if you're a national mailer and you're sending big volume mailings, the likelihood of you falling foul of the ASA becomes higher. Because if you're mailing on a national level, if you're mailing very low volume, highly targeted, it's highly unlikely your mailings will make it to what's called Nielsen, which is a public panel, a consumer panel, where there becomes visibility of mailings. It's very hard in the UK for there to be visibility of mailings unless people are sending high volume.
Okay.
So it's not a risk for me to tell you whether to take or not to take, but that's the position on it in the UK.
Awesome. And how many letters should one commit to, you know, in the context of property and following up?
I would definitely recommend that you do a main campaign and a follow-up. I would. I think in terms of how long you leave, you know, it kind of does. It does depend really, not least on the immediacy of the offer or the proposition, because if it's time-based, you're not going to want to leave 6 months, are you? If you think that, you know, the seller's very motivated. But I do think that you should follow up. You should definitely follow up after a main mailing. And I'd either follow up using letters, or if you can contact them via other means, that's fine. Whether it's mail and then email, that's fine. But if you've got their email address, but follow up is really important. And that's what I was saying, that when you follow up, again, it's evidence of your professionalism, isn't it? It's further evidence of your professionalism, that you're not a one-time outfit.
Okay. So I'm going to the questions now. I think people wanted you to conclude, was letter A or better than letter B, or which one was
Letter A was better.
Awesome.
Letter B didn't work so well because all the attention was on faces, and that's what happens. Humans, we're pre-programmed. Our brain, the primitive parts of our brain, are pre-programmed towards faces. You know, nothing works harder than a baby's face on marketing. And so what you find is that all the attention went to their faces, whereas in the version on the left, we were drawn to the call to action, or what I'd put as CTA, which was that ribbon on the top, which is their website address, their phone number, and the offer in the green.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for that. Sorry. So I was listening to your answer, so I didn't go through prepare the next one. Afshin is asking if we can get the slide. So I suppose the best way is that if people connect with you on LinkedIn, you can send them a copy of the slides with other resources. That's probably the best.
That's absolutely fine. Yeah, that's no problem. Yeah.
People are asking about templates. So I think this is what you were talking about. So you can share when people connect with you. You're happy to share with them some templates of stuff that are relevant. Actually, they can use right now that are relevant with Property Filter for deal following through, listing being withdrawn, and property being sold subject to contract since a long time, for example. So I think that would be super cool.
That's fine.
Yeah, people are getting some really cool feedback. Thank you. It was so useful. That was
thank you, everybody.
That was brilliant. Thank you for taking your time. Thank you, Louise. Very interesting. Gareth will connect with you on LinkedIn.
Thank you,
and Bob is asking, don't we like window envelopes? So that's probably reacting to something we said. Do you want to comment about window envelopes?
Window envelopes are cheaper.
Yeah, but about open rate.
No difference.
Okay.
No difference.
That's really interesting.
There's no evidence to suggest there's any difference. The only way you really prove a difference is if you tested it as a brand. But my advice would be, don't test it. It's too expensive. Just keep window envelopes.
And I mean, then you can. I've seen a good compromise of people using like good quality
handwritten fonts,
fonts for the address or stuff like that. If you choose to go on to the more personal part, but I mean, I think it's as you said, it's an extension of your brand. So my question about, do we go very personal or do you go corporate-y kind of letter? I guess you probably want to be an extension of who you are, and then the people who resonate with you will want to do business with you. So yeah,
you've just answered your own question completely, 100%, Guillaume. It's really important that your authenticity, that your brand, your tone of voice, it flows through your letters and all your communications, and it's on message. People buy off people.
Awesome. So we've got a few other questions. So I should have said I've got a baby vaccination appointment in 20 minutes. So I will try to wrap up at 2:30, and then any leftover questions, what we can do. Is it okay if you record a bit of something outside of this, and we can put it in the Facebook group for the members to view? Is that okay, Louise?
Yes, that's absolutely fine.
Okay, let's see if we can get a couple of questions. So we've got Niyama who's asking, Louise mentioned targeting specific professions where they can bring us deals using letters. Yeah, just can you give us any examples? Solicitors, for example.
Yep, so you can target certain types of professionals. That's easy to do. It might be estate agents. You're looking at typically to rent those lists for 12 months. You're looking at, say, in the region of £300 per thousand to rent those lists, but you can target professionals. What you find with business to business lists is they're not always as up to that they're harder to remain up to date because people move company a lot. But yes, you can certainly do that and target professionals and target them in certain geographical areas if you're catchment based.
Okay. So Niyama is asking, would you use a company like Stamp to send them or some other way?
So Stamp are very good. I don't send my customers campaigns through Stamp, but only because I like Stamp, but only because I've got a really good supply chain of UK mailing agents through my relationships with Royal Mail while I was at Royal Mail. And also I find the data a bit clunky with Stamp. It's quite a lot of work, whereas it's much easier with one of my mailing agents. But yes, I do rate Stamp, and I think they're reasonable on price.
Okay, and we get Aile's question here, and then after I'll have to wrap up, and the rest I will bring to the Facebook group. So what about flyers delivered in newspapers?
I'm not a massive fan of inserts because I think they're potentially more likely to get put in the bin. But I do like unaddressed leaflets, so what people sometimes call door-to-door, that's delivered with the mail. I think unaddressed mail can work really well. Okay, awesome. So sorry, I'm usually happy to run out a little bit, but today I really have to go. So what we'll do, I'll take note of all these questions. I'll pass them to Louise, and then have a little recording or these answered in the Facebook group. So yeah, let's wrap up. So thank you very much, all of you, for joining us today for Today Deals Finders Corners. Reach out to Louise today if you want to unlock your direct to vendor campaign and see if there's something you can expand on that side. Thank you very much, Louise. I think it was really, really interesting. I was looking forward to it and I was not disappointed. So thank you so much. So for all of us, visit propertyfilter.co.uk, log on to your Property Filter account, check out the deal blueprint, define your goldmine area, engage with motivated sellers, assess properties in seconds, load your pipeline and make deals, have an endless supply of deals, join the top 1% and become a high achiever deal finder. I hope you enjoyed today's Deal Finders Corners. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you very much. Have a very good day and speak with you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you, Louise. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.